All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. God bless y'all. I'm Jarvis Kingston, and I hope y'all doing all right in these challenging times. Now, today I want to discuss about aliens. Now, when I'm discussing about aliens, I'm not just talking about, UFO stuff and like that sci-fi stuff, you know what I mean? I mean just being a stranger in a land that you don't belong in, and you don't belong in, or being in a hostile environment where you're not accepted or valued or appreciated. This world that we're in is a fallen world, and all these places that we're currently in right now are actually under spiritual captivity. So these places, this jurisdiction that we're in right now, this system that we're living in, this matrix, this isn't truly our dwelling place at the moment. We're kind of just being tested down here, and we're just living in random areas and being placed where we're at and being tested. But we are aliens among all these other nations and all these other people. And there's also aliens amongst us as well that a lot of people don't understand, And, the scriptures talk about not being hostile towards strangers or whatnot, because you're also a stranger as well. And, this is a crazy world that we're living in. This is also a fallen world as well. We have all types of different beings walking around. You have aliens, you have fallen angels, you have demigods, you got demons, you got all types of reptilians and different types of celestial beings in human flesh and human form. These last days that we're in are very tricky and very crazy, but this is the book of Revelation, so a lot of things are being revealed, a lot of prophecies being fulfilled, and you're starting to see more creepy things more than ever. You're starting to see more strange people more than ever. When you see some of these crimes that are committed and you watch the local news, it's not normal people doing these things. It's a lot of empty vessels doing it, a lot of demon-possessed people, a lot of non-human beings doing this stuff, believe it or not. And we're just in some crazy times out here, and we have to always keep in remembrance that, as people, we're also aliens in this world, and there's also aliens among us, because it's just a bunch of it's very overpopulated, and there's a lot of random people among us that we don't know about, and we're among people that they don't know about us as well in these different lands, So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read different Bible verses about being alienated and being in random spots and stuff like that, and just go from there. All right. Let's see. The book of 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who reside as aliens and who are scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, to those who are chosen. The book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 34. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. You were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 10 verse 19. So show your love for the alien, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. The book of Ephesians chapter 2 verse 19. So then you are no longer strangers and aliens, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and are of God's household. The book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 33. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. The book of Exodus chapter 22 verse 21. You shall not wrong a stranger or oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 43. The alien who is among you shall rise above you higher and higher, but you will go down lower and lower. The book of Leviticus chapter 18 verse 26. But as for you, you are to keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not do any of these abominations, neither the native nor the alien who sojourns among you. The book of Ephesians chapter 2 verse 12. Remember that you were at the time separate from Christ, excluded from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers to the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. The book of Psalm chapter 69 verse 8. I have become estranged from my brothers, and an alien to my mother's sons. The book of Leviticus chapter 23 verse 22. When you reap the harvest of your land, moreover you shall not reap to the very corners of your field, nor gather the gleaning of your harvest. You are to leave them for the needy and the alien. I am the Lord your God. The book of Ezekiel chapter 47 verse 22. You shall divide it by lot for an inheritance among yourselves and among the aliens who stay in your midst, who bring forth your sons in your midst, and they shall be to you as the native born among the sons of Israel. They shall be allotted an inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. The book of Hosea chapter 7 verse 9. Strangers devour his strength, yet he does not know it. Gray hairs are also sprinkled on him, yet he does not know it. The book of Hebrews chapter 11 verse 13. All these died in faith, without receiving the promises, but having seen them, and having welcomed them from a distance, and having confessed that they were strangers and exiles on the earth. The book of Isaiah chapter 60 verse 10. Foreigners will build up your walls, for their kings will minister to you. For in my wrath I struck you, and in my favor I have had compassion on you. The book of Leviticus chapter 24 verse 22. There shall be one standard for you. It shall be for the stranger as well as the native, for I am the Lord your God. The book of Leviticus chapter 25 verse 23. The land moreover shall not be sold permanently, for the land is mine, for you are but aliens and sojourners with me. The book of Isaiah chapter 1 verse 7. Your land is desolate, your cities are burned with fire, your fields strangers are devouring them in your presence. It is desolation, as overthrown by strangers. The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 29 verse 15. For we are sojourners before you, and tenants as for all our fathers were. Our days on the earth are like a shadow, and there is no hope. The book of Exodus chapter 23 verse 9. You shall not oppress a stranger, since you yourselves know the feelings of a stranger, for you also were strangers in the land of Egypt. The book of Isaiah chapter 56 verse 6. Also the foreigners who join themselves to the Lord, to minister to him, and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servants, every one who keeps from profaning the Sabbath, and holds fast my covenant. The book of Hebrews chapter 11 verse 34. Quench the power of fire, escape the edge of the sword, from weakness were made strong, became mighty in war, put foreign armies to flight. The book of Isaiah chapter 14 verse 1. When the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and again choose Israel, and settle them in their own land, then strangers will join them and attach themselves to the house of Jacob. The book of Psalm chapter 146 verse 9. The Lord protects the strangers, he supports the fatherless and the widow, but he thwarts the way of the wicked. The book of Exodus chapter 12 verse 49. The same law shall apply to the native as to the stranger who sojourns among you. When you reap your the book of Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 19. When you reap your harvest in your field and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be for the alien, for the orphan, and for the widow, in order that the Lord your God may bless you in all your work of your hands. The book of Lamentations chapter 5 verse 2. Our inheritance has been turned over to strangers, our houses to aliens. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 14. You shall not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your countrymen or one of your aliens who is in your land and your towns. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 12. Assemble the people, the men and the women and the children and the alien who is in your town, so that they may hear and learn and fear the Lord your God, and be careful to observe all the words of this law. The book of Proverbs chapter 5 verse 10. And strangers will be filled with your strength, and your hard-earned goods will go to the house of an alien. The book of Numbers chapter 35 verse 15. These 6 cities shall be for refuge for the sons of Israel, and for the alien and for the sojourner among them, that anyone who kills a person intentionally may flee there. The book of Psalm chapter 144 verse 11. Rescue me and deliver me out the hand of the aliens, whose mouth speaks deceit, and whose right hand is a right hand of falsehood. The book of Luke chapter 17 verse 18. Was no one found who returned to give glory to God, except this foreigner? The book of Deuteronomy chapter 29 verse 11. Your little ones, your wives, and the alien who is within your camps, from the one who chops your wood to the one who draws your water. Let's see. The book of Isaiah chapter 25 verse 5. Like heat and drought, you subdue the uproars of aliens. Like heat by the shadow of a cloud, the song of the ruthless is silenced. The book of Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 51. We are ashamed because we have heard reproach. Disgrace has covered our faces, for aliens have entered the holy places of the Lord's house. The book of Leviticus chapter 19 verse 10. Nor shall you glean your vineyard, nor shall you gather the fallen fruit of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the needy and for the stranger. I am the Lord your God. The book of Leviticus chapter 25 verse 45. Then too it is out of the sons of the sojourners who live as aliens among you that you may gain acquisition, and out of their families who are with you, whom they will also have produced in your land, they also may become your possession. The book of Psalm chapter 105 verse 12. When they were only a few men in number, very few and strangers in it. The book of Zechariah chapter 7 verse 10. And do not oppress the widow or the orphan, the stranger or the poor, and do not devise evil in your hearts against one another. The book of Isaiah chapter 62 verse 8. The Lord has sworn by his right hand and by his strong arm, I will never again give your grain as food for your enemies, nor will foreigners drink your new wine for which you have labored. The book of Isaiah chapter 2 verse 6. For you have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob, because they are filled with influences from the east, and they are soothsayers like the Philistines, and they strike bargains with the children of foreigners. The book of 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who reside as aliens scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, who are chosen. The book of Exodus chapter 6 verse 4. I also established my covenant with them, to give them the land of Canaan, the land in which they sojourned. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 17. You shall not pervert the justice due an alien or an orphan, nor take a widow's garment in pledge. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 26 verse 12. When you have finished paying all the tithe of your increase in the third year, the year of tithing, then you shall give it to the Levite, to the stranger, to the orphan, and to the widow, that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. The book of 1 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 2. So David gave orders to gather the foreigners who were in the land of Israel, and he set stone cutters to hew out stones to build the house of God. The book of Isaiah chapter 61 verse 5. Strangers will stand and pasture your flocks, and foreigners will be your farmers and your vine dressers. The book of 2 Chronicles chapter 6 verse 32. Also confront concerning the foreigner who is not from your people Israel, when he comes from a far country for your great name's sake, and your mighty hand, and your outstretched arm. And when they come and pray towards this house. The book of Exodus chapter 12 verse 48. But if a stranger sojourns with you and celebrates the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near to celebrate it, and he shall be like a native of the land. But no uncircumcised person may eat of it. So when it comes to aliens, it wasn't just talking about what I was previously talking about in the beginning of it. So,